G'day guys, Coach Coot here. A little bit of information regarding having a little bit of a on the weekends with friends and how to still maximise your training and not feel like you've lost all your gains from one night out on the town, right? Goes without saying, the less you drink, probably for the better. It's probably going to get much better results consistently. However, we accept that people are human. They're going to have a big night out occasionally at some point, maybe a few wines at dinner and things like that. So hopefully this can give you a little bit of information to help you feel a little bit better come Monday when you get back in your training and trying to get those results. So a couple of things, try to pull up and finish early. A couple of things are self-explanatory, right? You don't need to be drinking out until 4 in the morning. You know, even if you're out until say 1 o'clock or something like that, do you really need to be drinking from that 10 to 1 o'clock period, right? Start hydrating early, start feeling better. So by the time you're in the taxi, you're even starting to sober up and hopefully you're home and you're feeling a lot better the next day. Same thing goes with sleep. Goes without saying, the more you mess up your circadian rhythms by having this random night where you stay out till 2 or 3 in the morning, the shittier you're going to feel tomorrow and probably the shittier you're going to feel for the next week because of that. Prep-wise, before you actually start having your drinks, right? Thinking about maybe something like an electrolyte tablet. Just an example, Boost, you can get that from most chemists. Get all the good electrolytes in because you're probably going to get dehydrated with the amount of drinking that you're doing, especially if it's hot. Think about hydrating through drinking more water and obviously having some food beforehand. I think it goes without saying, get to a certain age, there's no such thing as eating is cheating, right? We know how much better you will feel the next day if you do this. And you won't embarrass yourself as much. Number 3, adjustments. So limiting, where possible, limiting the sugar and caffeine in the drinks that you are choosing. Having 8 espresso martinis will make you feel fly as. But probably the biggest issue is that later on that caffeine is going to be a huge come down and after effects of that later on the next few days. So try to limit things like your Red Bull vodkas. Don't have the pulses. I don't even know if that's still a thing, but don't try to have too many sugary caffeinated drinks because you will pay for it the next day and how you're feeling in total. Moving on to sups that you can kind of use. So a couple of things you can use some activated charcoal. Really good that you can do it while drinking, but you can also use it sort of once you finish off your session before you go to bed. It tends to sort of bind to the toxins and sort of lock them down, then you'll dispose of them the next day. So that can be one that can be used, experiment with it. Like I said before, electrolytes, before you go to bed, you want to be sort of thinking in this way so you are waking up feeling better. Everyone knows what it's like to run up feeling hungover and dry mouth and that sort of thing. You just maximises how much shitter that hangover feels. So think about that a little bit, hydrate really, really well. In terms of sleep, try to have a blacked out room so that if you are sleeping in a little bit, your brain's not sort of in and out of sleep. It's already going to be confused as to how you've thrown out your sleep cycles. You don't need to do that more by having light coming in from all different angles or your phone going off and things like that. What I will say with this is try to keep it to 1 or 2 hours within your normal waking time. If you're a tradie or something, you're getting up at 5, I know that sounds ridiculous, but if you go from waking up every morning at 5 a.m. and all of a sudden you're sleeping in until like 9, 10, 11 and you've had a really late night, goes without saying, and it feels shitty for that next day, the day after that, and probably the day after that as well. So 1 to 2 hours in your waking time, you can make up with that in the next point. So in the after effect, the next day, try to get up and moving. There's nothing worse than being couch ridden the whole day. Then the following day feels really bad. Then you try to train Monday and you wonder why you feel really lethargic, right? So some light cardio training, or just get yourself out of bed and get to it. Get up and get to the gym, get a class in. Yes, you're not going to perform as optimally maybe, but at least you'll feel better for it afterwards, sweating out toxins out of your system. Obviously hydration, if you've got a sauna or access to a sauna, that might be a good idea. Generally make you feel better just sweating out, even just the visualization of that. And most importantly, take some naps. You're officially or essentially a baby now, right? So you need to get your naps back in, just like babies do. They have their early morning nap, then they have their lunchtime nap. You're the baby now, so you need that 20-minute or 45-minute nap. Don't have that 2-hour slugfest in the middle of the day. That'll once again make you feel worse. So maybe keep it to 45 minutes max, have 2 of those, and you'll feel a little bit better, and at least make up some lost sleep. Okay? And most importantly, part of the reason why you generally feel worse on a Monday is, if you had a big night Friday night or Saturday night, the next day, you're not getting your heart rate up very high, you're not breathing very hard, it's this real blood sugar's low, all this sort of stuff, and you're eating crappy food. It's like this big cycle. So if you fight back with that cycle a little bit, get your heart rate up a little bit, get a light sweat on, you will feel a lot better come Monday morning when you come back into your training, or the next day, or whenever you're planning on training again. Okay? Final thing is, there's no guilt associated with these things. Fair enough, if this is an every night kind of thing, we may have a problem that goes far outside worrying about your training results. But at the same time, we accept that, you know, life is there to have fun. So at some point, you're going to have a bit of a splash out. At some point, you're going to have a couple of drinks. This isn't about beating yourself up about it. How can we maximize our recovery from it, still have a really good time, and not be worrying about, oh, but training's going to be really bad on Monday, right? You are human, so enjoy human things, which is to have a good time occasionally. Hopefully these tips help, guys. If you have, write a comment in the post. We'll be back soon with some more lifestyle tips to help you get the most out of your training.